Welcome back to Cities Decoded, where we break down what happens when artificial intelligence meets the nation's cities. I'm, as always, your host, Sam Lee. So, this is a monthly tea recap that we've been doing every month since the start of the year. And this is in collaboration with the Era Arc, or also better known as the creator of the Daily Tea. This creator puts out every weekday 5 AI news stories that you may or may not have seen, but are always quite relevant. I love reading it. That's why we've been collaborating and putting out on Cities Decoded the Daily Tea posts. And this is the live stream companion. And we're changing it up a bit today, where not only do we have T with us, but we also have Alif, who writes and has her own Substack and brand Human Beyond Tech, and also contributes community and AI pieces. So getting more people into the mix, hopefully more in the future. And Alif will also bring her perspective and probably ask better questions than me. So let's get into it. We have a couple of great stories as always. We're starting with ChatGPT. So ChatGPT cites that half the URLs it receives, cites only half of the URLs it retrieves, and Reddit is 67.8% of the rest. So this was an article that analyzed 1.4 million ChatGPT prompts from February 2025 that covered 47.1 million retrieved URLs and found that ChatGPT cites only 49.98% of them. The citation rate varies sharply by source. So search results hit 88.46%, news was 12.01%, Reddit just 1.93%, YouTube and academia pretty negligible. Reddit alone accounts for 67.8% of this entire non-cited pool. What that means is that ChatGPT pulls from Reddit at scale, but almost never credits it. For those who don't know, Reddit is this social discussion forum that is quite popular, at least in the States, especially when discussing not just tech trends, but pop culture trends, societal trends. It's a very popular discussion platform. So on average, ChatGPT retrieves 16.57 cited and 16.58 non-cited URLs per prompt. Cited pages have a median age of about 500 days, while non-cited pages are overwhelmingly very young. Makes a lot of sense. And title relevance matters as well. Cosine similarity between prompt and cited URL title averages 0.602 versus 0.484 for non-cited. And natural language URL slugs get cited 89.78% of the time versus slightly lower 81.11% for opaque slugs. So ChatGPT's run on Reddit. That's basically the takeaway here. And that's why, as T wrote, Reddit CEO is so harsh on AI agent control. T, how have you seen Reddit or a platform like Reddit play a seemingly bigger and bigger role with AI tools? Like, was this always the case? It feels like it's only grown in significance. Is that what you have seen as well?
Yes. And especially that makes me think, especially in the era of AI, any human generated content is super valuable. Like data is the fuel, right, to the AI engine. And I think that's partially why. And then Reddit is very proud of its human community. And I guess, because what we're creating is artificial intelligence after all. It's not actual intelligence. The actual intelligence comes from human beings. So I think, this definitely speaks a lot about how human intelligence is valued here. And I also think this one makes me kind of think, very often recently, especially when you see so many AI posts on LinkedIn, on Twitter, like everywhere pretty much, on your Instagram feeds also, like all of those animals
Yes.
dancing, all the weird moves. They're very
Yes. A lot of them.
definitely very addictive. I couldn't stop watching them, but we kind of like really have to rethink how social media works. How do we co-live with AI agents and everything? So yeah, that's the sense that I got after reading this news.
Yes, Aleph, you're also very
Mhm.
in social media world. What's your take on human versus AI on social media and how it results in something like this chat GPT Reddit relationship?
Yeah. So I thought of two things. One is Reddit attracts a specific type of person to write on it. And readers also. I think it's much more prevalent among more technical people. I mean, if Google surfaces it, non-technical people would also go in and search for responses around if is this dog trainer good. I've been looking at dog trainers, or things that are much less relevant to the AI world. But in order to be a contributor, I think there is a character that, like, so that made me think like, oh, if our AIs are being fed in from information from that segment of humanity, what does that mean for the output? So let alone just using like a human produced content, but what human, which type of human is also a question I had in mind. And related to that, it made me think that in Turkey, where I was raised, we have our own Reddit, and usually we like go to the local one and write in the local one, and that's called Ekşi Sözlük, and it's usually where people get canceled. So if you want to know who's canceled in Turkey, you would go to that website. But that made me think like, okay, how much of the world's data are we capturing? Just a different angle. I mean, I get that from Reddit's perspective, not being cited sucks. And I think Reddit has been doing a very good job in community control. So you won't be able to put your website and, for promotions. That's what happens in a lot of community forums. And Reddit has been doing an excellent job in monitoring and keeping a sincere environment. Yeah, those are my 2 cents.
Yeah, I don't really use Reddit that much. T, are you on Reddit a lot, or is that not? I don't feel like we've talked about it before, so maybe you are, but I'm not very active there.
Yeah, I'm pretty. I love to read all the memes, and especially with the like cloud channel and some of the ChatGPT channel. I find them pretty useful, especially if you're kind of looking for inspiration. You will find a lot of use cases. Like people do post stuff over there. So I would say yes. And then to your point, I agree that the majority of the users, depending on which topics you're interested in, but definitely I see a lot of technical kind of interest people would go there more often.
Yeah, agreed. So we'll have to see how Reddit continues to evolve. Let's move on to pricing, which I think a lot of AI companies are thinking about these days. This article specifically was on Anthropic and how it's ending its flat fee pricing structure. So essentially, seat fees for Anthropic now cover platform access only. Claude Code, and Cowork usage is billed separately at standard API rates, and the trigger is GPU rental costs climb 40%, CoreWeave raised rates 20%, and API uptime dropped to 98.95% over 90 days, which is below the 99.99% cloud standard. And it's not just Anthropic, OpenAI, GitHub, Windsurf have all already made the same move. And as the summary closes out, the subsidized access era for heavy users is over industry-wide. T, you also mentioned in your thought here how the seat charge era might just be over point blank very soon, and folks will be charged based on how many tokens or credits they're actually consuming. So what does that mean for businesses? Because I feel like a lot of businesses obviously have to take into account this change pretty seriously, depending on how complex their workflows is. So how big of a change really is this from seat-based to token-based in your perspective?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think every enterprise, doesn't matter how big or small they are, they're all thinking about like how you allocate tokens, right? There's only so
Right.
much within an organization, and how do you kind of allocate that resource. And I think it totally makes sense for cloud, for Anthropic to make this move, because I've seen a lot of people kind of posting how their companies are doing this token maxing. So basically,
Mm.
Whoever can spend the most tokens will be on the board. So basically, they kind of want to distill the knowledge out of cloud to make their own version. Of their harness or whatever. So, it makes sense that they do this. And I think Notion also with the agents, the customized agents, they're going to charge the outcome also after May, I think, when the trial period is over, when the beta period is over. So I actually read an article recently about like there's different models of how companies kind of allocate tokens, and I think this is a area where everybody's trying to explore. So
Yeah,
to solve, like, one thing is efficiency, like how your ROI, you spend this much money on those subscriptions, and how much output you can generate from that. And the other is like, what is the end goal? Because if you are too strict, maybe your most talented engineers would not be able to create as much. And
exactly.
but if you just go free mode, some companies might get like tens of thousands of bills at the end of
Right.
the month, which is crazy also. So yeah, that's how I think about this.
Hey, Liv, I saw you smile a bit when T mentioned token maxing. Do you wanna give your thoughts there? What was that smile about?
Um, I thought about the business side of it. Like I understand it's very important and relevant for the IT teams in any given company. But I was thinking about all the seats that I have at my job. Like in my day to day work, we use Microsoft, we use Copilot, and some people really use it. Some people haven't even touched it, and then they pay
Yeah,
the same subscription per seat, and so it makes sense. But I was laughing because you know how we now tend to write, like, ask the stupidest questions to AI. So that might prevent people from using any like LLMs like Google, and there might be a distinction between what you like, facts that you're looking for versus tasks that you want AI to help you with, which is probably
right.
better for energy efficiency, probably better for the entire ecosystem. Um, I don't know if that applies to individual users too. Did you read anything around that, T?
Not really. It's more on the company level.
Mm.
But I can see how people can exploit that. There's a lot of ways people can kind of find a loophole, find a way around. And I also see that with Mythos coming out this past 2 weeks, especially with Anthropic, and I think all the other frontier labs are going to do the same, which is to restrict access. And I feel like quite concerning, to be honest, because especially when I saw Cloud starts to kind of request government's ID, if they say if you've asked some questions that are the illegal, or kind of on the borderline of kind of breaking their regulations or whatever. So I can see the control is tightening for sure in all of the frontier labs, and then the battle between the open source models and the proprietary ones is just the beginning. Yeah, so I would say on the personal level, people would definitely find their ways to exploit the system. Yeah.
How would they do that? I mean, this is all hypothetical, of course. Like how would individuals go about exploiting it if you have thoughts there?
Um, I wouldn't call, maybe I should choose a different word. Maybe not so much as exploiting, but like, I've seen a bunch of people kind of posting YouTube videos that have also done the same to kind of reduce the token usage by kind of
Right.
using like caveman language. I don't know if you've seen. So like by talking to a cloud or ChatGPT as a caveman. So you just skip all of
Just
the necessary words.
dumb it
Yeah,
down.
just through keywords. And then that way, and then ask Cloud to speak to you back in caveman language. And that way you can save a lot of tokens. And then they can actually, surprisingly even better compared to if you speak human language. So, yeah,
Wow. Oh my
that would be
God.
one
We're
of the ways, probably.
we're
Yeah,
done with natural language.
we'll always find the easiest path. I did this. So every corner, if there was like a green area, and there's like imagine there's a road and there is like a green area and the road, but there would always be that path that
Yeah.
doesn't have grass, because whenever overdo the entire thing and you just pass. Like that's human nature. We will find loopholes. People will find ways to optimize.
Yeah, agreed. I see that definitely happening at Notion. So thank you, T, for for shouting out Notion. May 4th is when UBP will go into effect. And from what I've seen, I think exactly to Alif's point, like once credits were announced when we launched custom agents as a public beta in February, immediately people are like, how do I optimize? And Notion's been responding to, we have more model availability as ever, or more than ever before. We have cheaper models that use less credits. We have more advanced models that use more credits. So I think nobody likes a pricing change. Like that is also part of human nature. But at the same time, I see seat-based to credit-based being a very natural evolution of just supply and demand. Like I think as these AI models get more advanced and subsequently need to be financed and sustained better, this is a response to that. And then it's up to, I think, AI companies to do this in the most sensible way possible so they retain, yes, their customers, but I do like their most loyal and also most sustainable customers as well. So we'll have to see how things progress. Speaking of,
I
oh
want to
yeah,
add,
go ahead, Alif. Yeah,
I think this is a very important point where there needs to be more education about which models are good for what.
yeah,
Just saying like fast thinking doesn't tell me anything as a user. What do you mean? So some use cases that this model is good for, crunching numbers and I don't know, like research, whatever the use case is, there has to be more information on the UI itself,
for sure.
that people can switch, because 95% of people, I would assume, are just using the default model.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like your default iPhone settings. Like they're there to modify, but rarely anybody does. T, do you have any? And you tinker around a lot with a lot of different models. Have you started seeing trends that you can divulge and share with us on what models are good for what?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. Actually, if you have I've been exploring with different projects, and token is definitely something that I'm always thinking about when it comes to doing different tasks, because you have to be very mindful. Even though I'm actually on Cloud Max, the $200 plan, I'm still kind of still running short sometimes. So you have to think about what
Oh
type
my
of
God.
tasks you have to ask Sonnet to do, or Haiku, which is a less advanced model, or when you play around with OpenCloud, for example, the first thing that I set up is this tiered model. So like, for certain tasks, you have the open source model like Quinn, for example, to do summarizing, text-based, less advanced, less reasoning required type of tasks, compared to, if you have to do a very high level architecture level planning, Opus 4.7 now is definitely a good one, even though I saw the research posted by Anthropic that 4.7, even though it's better compared to 4.6, but it's definitely more token consuming. I could see that already. I
Ugh.
only use it for like 3 days. It's already 60% more. I was like, oh, it's
Oh
gonna
my God.
resume next Thursday. So I don't know. It feels like a like prison when you cannot use your plan. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think everybody exploring that to kind of delegate the less intelligent required work to cheaper models or free ones.
Yeah. See, I have a suggestion. We should write a guide for this,
Mm,
and have, like, a live document always can be edited, but I think
Mhm.
a lot of, adding use cases in a matrix, like, to use which model for what, would
Mhm.
be helpful for me too, because I don't have the time to explore all of it. So I trust my intuition, but I probably am not doing a good job.
No,
agreed.
that's a great
Agreed.
point. Mm.
Yeah, I can get a Notion doc going after this,
Yeah.
so
Go for it.
we can start adding into it. Speaking of how companies are approaching AI, let's talk a bit about where AI value is being distributed. So PwC recently surveyed over 1,000 senior executives across 25 sectors, and it found that 74% of AI's economic gains are captured by just 20% of organizations. I assume this is within the States. The leaders are not deploying more tools. They're using AI to reinvent business models and pursue growth from industry convergence. They are 2.8, almost 3 times more likely to increase decisions made without human intervention, almost 3 times more likely to report AI enables business model reinvention, and almost 2 times more likely to have a responsible AI framework. And T, you mentioned how this divide is structural, not technological. It's an inflection point, and that the gap between those who are using AI and those who don't are only growing wider and wider. So I think the natural question after that is, how do we minimize that gap? Because I think that gap's always going to exist. That gap existed way before AI. I think it will exist with whatever comes afterwards. But just because so many of these companies seemingly are getting left behind, not really of their own fault, like what are you seeing from any sector, public, private, local, domestic, international, that can address this gap? If there's anything, maybe you're not seeing anything.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a very great question and a very critical. And I think we have already seen some of the behaviors, um, like whether Sam Altman getting attacked last weekend,
Mhm.
or Maine kind of officially banned the building of data centers, or there's this guy who supported data center, I forgot in which state, but he also got
Indiana, I
attacked.
think, in
Yeah, in
Indiana.
Indiana, yes, he also got
Yeah.
attacked. So I would say, like, for me personally, probably a little more pessimistic, but I think the gap would be wider and wider, because just like how, like, a person who is super smart and hardworking likes to read, now with AI, that person would be able to read as much as they can. They would probably want to keep moving up, keep learning, but the people at the bottom who might not have the resources or time even to learn would just fall further behind. And to be honest, I don't see like how we can bridge the gap, except the fact that, kind of spread the knowledge, mapping, letting people know that, this tool is not as scary, because any change, especially when they're revolutionizing, can be scary. And I think that is already starting. Um, but it's inevitable. No matter how people are, resistant toward this new technology, it's going to happen, because and I do believe, because this is more of a structural change instead of just, AI being an additional tool. It's revolutionizing in the sense that, the previous company structure, where there's a lot of layers, hierarchy, a lot of managers kind of managing different structures, are completely kind of overthrown, in the sense that we do not need managers to route information. Agents can do even better. So, like, it's going to be like a very holistic way of looking at how companies are run, how business are run. So, this change is really like a paradigm shift. It's not like adding it's even more kind of different compared to when internet first came out. So yeah, I think more. I sadly speaking, I think, the gap is going to be even more, unless people are really kind of starting to realize this changes technology, and then started to kind of learn without um, with without the how would you put it, like the resistance, the
Mhm.
mental kind of scared, the insecurity that this technology brings. Yeah.
Question there. What do you think they should learn? Like, I hear this argument very, like, pretty much, and I understand that. But what do we mean by that? Is it prompting? Is it building agents? Is it like, how, if you were like mid-size, worked in a mid-size company, and if you were a manager, what would you start learning?
That's a great question. Actually, that's another project that I'm currently working on with my friend, which is to we want to kind of offer this service to small and medium sized businesses, trying to help them to build agents to automate their workflow. And I think you asked a very good question, and I think everybody should constantly asking them, how do I use AI in my everyday life, no matter if it's personal or if it's in your professional life. And I heard Peter Steinberg, the person who developed OpenClaw, he mentioned that he spoke with someone in China when there was a kind of like a quota, so everybody has to automate at least one workflow every day. So if you don't actually meet the quota, if you don't have anything automated in a week, you might be fired. So I think from that perspective, just thinking about how I can use AI in anything, like the first instinct that you should have when it comes to doing anything is to think about how AI can do it for me. And I think that would be a good starting point. But definitely, there's like prompting, how you use different skills, how you build agents, those come afterwards. But, if you have that mindset in first, I think that's better than not thinking about AI for sure.
I think one thing that might help people is to, instead of calling it how can AI do it, just call it workflow automation. It has existed for the longest time, and it has transformed companies. But they were traditionally were being built by IT companies, and then business users were taught how to use them. But the difference now is that you don't need to have technical skills to build them anymore. They're drag and drop tools that allow business users to build their own automation. But the moment you bring in how can AI help me, or how can I can delegate AI to do it, it automatically creates this distrust and that the resistance to not want to delegate it to AI. But if we just call it workflow automation, like we've called it for the past 30 years, I think that could help people to start getting their hands dirty.
Yeah, 100%. That's more like a psychological kind of question for us to communicate. Yeah,
It's pushing the frontier a little further. It's like none of this is new,
right.
but it's just a different scale, and people who can do it has changed, but what we're doing hasn't changed.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would also put it as like human nature remains consistent. Like no matter what technology flows through, we see how politicians react to this change. We see how business people react to this change. We see how countries led by different types of governments, different societies react to it. And I think even though it's probably a misquote of a misquote, like history never repeats itself, but it often rhymes, like that type of sentiment, I think is really ringing true because anything you see with the backlash or support with AI, you could put it onto proportionally a different technological shift, whether it goes all the way back to the printing press or automated machinery. So there were not as many human laborers. Like, does anyone really want to go back to the day like children were working in factories in very unsafe conditions? It's not to say that there aren't dangers as with any technology, but I think, yeah, just what you're saying, Aleph, makes me think about how humans still react the way humans do. And it's really important to continue, I think, making sure intellectually curious, engaged people continue to be that way with AI because one of the concerns I see when I read the Daily Tea or other news sources is that when powerful, prominent tech people almost like talk down to the masses, like, you're going to lose your job, your job's going to change forever, you won't have a job, we're all going to do UBI. It doesn't really matter who it is, it's just that tone. That's a really big turnoff for a lot of smart people, a lot of people who are also in powerful positions or will be in powerful positions or want to be in positions to change. So that's why I think things like the Daily Tea or Human Beyond Tech or Cities Decoded, this idea of trying to gather, talk, agree, disagree, but most importantly, help people think for themselves and not giving that many value judgments. I think that's the best way to do it, preferably in person, but also maybe through a podcast. And that is something that I think if we take the idea that human nature remains consistent, that generally is how we get to good solutions. Like when we talk to each other, and then we act. So I hope that continues to happen. And I want to segue that into the last story that I have on the page about how people are trying to literally kill Sam Altman. So after someone threw a Molotov cocktail at his house last week, he published a personal reflection on AI, OpenAI, and himself. He called AI the most powerful tool for expanding human capability and potential that anyone has ever seen, with essentially uncapped demand. Altman said that fear and anxiety about AI is justified and that society needs resilience beyond just model alignment. And he also argued that AI must be democratized. This gets to an earlier point that T was making, but he says that it's not right that a few AI labs would make the most consequential decisions about the shape of our future. On OpenAI's drama, he attributes it to the ring of power dynamic and acknowledges being conflict averse caused great pain for him and OpenAI. But he is proud of resisting demands for unilateral control and delivering on the mission. A lot of companies say this is a crazy line. A lot of companies say they're going to change the world. We actually did. T, I'll just start here, and then Aleph, feel free to chime in again. But T, what's your take on Sam Altman and OpenAI? What is your take based on all the things you've seen and researched about it over the years?
You mean in terms of AGI, like how the work that OpenAI has done?
Yeah, I think the work OpenAI has done, but also Sam Altman as
Mm.
at this point like a very prominent and probably cultural figure of this time in history. So both OpenAI, but then the man himself, because that is what people latch onto, whether they support him, make fun of him, or unfortunately are trying to kill him as well.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. When I saw the news, I think it's a little unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. I think, I understand how people are frustrated, but, the violence is never the answer. And the technology definitely has brought a lot of fear and changes in people's lives. But at the same time, it also accelerates, it really like democratize people's access to knowledge. So like now, anyone, if you want to learn, you just open your phone, you can learn pretty much anything, which is a great thing. And then there's a lot of research showing people that are underserved, undereducated, with personalized AI tutor, their grades kind of got improved so much more compared to when they did not have AI personalized tutor. So this technology has brought a lot of changes, and some could be not as good, but a lot is great. There's a lot of wealth that's being generated, productivity that's being generated. And now is probably the best time for anyone who wants to be an entrepreneur, because anything, like Elif said, if you have an idea, you can just, execute them with the help of all those agents. And the prototype could be done probably in the day or two. But anyone, if you're not a coder, if you're not a developer now, you can build something. Everybody is a builder. So the barrier to reach this sort of resources is so much lower compared to before. So I think this is something that we should also let people know. It's, even though it sounds scary, it seems like they're replacing the jobs, but when you actually look on the bright side, it also means all the knowledge barrier is almost gone. If you want to learn anything, if you want to build anything, it's available, which is very empowering. So that's this, the sense that I got. I really felt bad for Sam Altman. No matter what he's done, he doesn't deserve to be treated this way. And if anything, he was he created this company that developed ChatGPT 4, which was revolutionizing. If anything, he does not deserve to be treated this way. Yeah.
Aleph, anything to chime in, or
I
we
have
feel
very
aligned?
conflicting thoughts. I was trying to form my argument. Nobody deserves to be treated like nobody does. He kind of became the face of AI. I was thinking, like, do we have a face of the internet? Like, was it in the 90s? Was it Bill Gates? Did we have a figure that was kind of like the, like the moment you think about AI, you think about his face and OpenAI. Although Anthropic became much more prominent and big enterprises use Microsoft, you still AI is very much linked to his brand and his personal brand,
Yeah.
and it became normalized to hate him. And I feel like from even the quotes that you pulled up here, I have a feeling that he kind of does it on purpose, like saying like a lot of companies say they're going to change the world and we actually did it, and then at the same text he says, it's not justified that for to only a handful of companies to have a decision on. So like he conflicts himself a lot, and he kind of embraces that power. So I don't
Yeah.
know where to stand on him becoming kind of like the scapegoat and of the industry, and like everybody's throwing stones at him whenever. When it goes both ways. The ChatGPT became the name of AI, and also became the name for the hate. I don't know what I feel about it.
Yeah. Yeah. He's definitely a conflicting figure. I will give him that. But yes, hopefully the violence will be more controlled and eliminated. That I think we can all agree on. Okay, let's close out with a rapid fire section. And I have a few questions listed. Oh, hello there. Alis family's making a little bit of an appearance, as is very appreciated. And let's start with, if your life had release notes this week.
Hmm.
So the latest model of Aleph and the latest model of T, what would the top three bullet points be? Let's go T, then Aleph, and then I'll jump in as well afterwards.
You mean most decoded moment?
Yes, yes.
Uh, that's a very good question. I don't know how you understand it. So basically, what's the signature moment of the week,
There
basically?
was there was discussion about this before we started, or like three things that happened this week that let's simplify this. So three things that happened this week that you're proud of, like you shipped something or
Mhm.
you ate healthy. It can span the spectrum. So three things that you're proud of this week.
Sure. Yeah, I can definitely go first. One of my projects, I have this agent run this kind of products factory company on its own, and I tell it the main goal is to make money, and I've earned he or she, I don't know, I didn't really give him a pronoun, but it was able to make me $6 this past week. It
Wow,
was not bad. It's a
amazing.
good start. I didn't
Love
really. I
that.
said, just don't ask me questions. Just go and figure it out yourself. Your sole goal is to make money, so that's something good. Yeah, and I'm currently working on the company brain, because inspired by Jack Dorsey, and I saw a bunch of people writing articles of how future company is like. I'm trying to actually build a brain that would kind of learn at night to do the self-healing, self-learning type of cycle. So during the day, it kind of consolidates all the memories, so you wouldn't make the mistakes again. So I'm still working on it, and yeah, hopefully I'll share more in next month when it's done. Yeah.
Yes, amazing. Aleph?
I was thinking, so number one, I think, is that I got a new Vespa. That's orange. I've been
Yes.
wanting to get
Okay.
an orange Vespa for the longest time. I've been,
Happy to hear that.
yeah. So you're gonna see me scroll around the streets of Washington D.C. on my heels on my orange Vespa. Uh,
Love.
the second thing is that the spinach season is almost over. I harvested all my spinach today from my garden.
Mhm.
Amazing.
And the third thing is I was an advisor for a capstone project for three students at Georgetown University, and they presented their work to the NGO that we were working with to start with their AI governance strategy. So I was very, very proud of
Awesome.
present. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Hoya Saxa. That's awesome. Okay. I would say my three things first. I did a deep clean of the place today, so I'm just feeling great about there being significantly less dust in the place. Another thing, I'm starting to build agents that can work together with other agents at work and also involving the whole community team. So we've been doing these weekly working sessions where we fix the issues with the agents, we are improving them, and it's been really cool because I think AI can seem so single player at times, especially from a personal user perspective. But what I'm really excited about with where Notion's going is that we're not losing the collaborative nature that, again, I think is just part of human nature. And we had this whole thing together campaign. It was received well. Custom agents are built to be played together, not by yourself. And to actually be able to do that at the company that's building the agents is still very surreal. So that's been really fun to do, and I think has just really upgraded our quality for especially the operational side of the ambassador program. And then another bullet point, I would say I attended a friend's wedding last week, which was amazing. I saw Alif when I was in DC for that, and just reminded me that like I think everyone just needs to go touch grass on Saturday and Sunday, tend to the garden, or go around New York. But I just think my life has been really nice where, yes, I think about AI a lot and like all of us here, but I also am very intentional about stepping away from it for a lot of the weekend. And I think that allows me to get back into AI and work during the week. So I'm glad that, at least for now, I wouldn't say it's balanced, but it complements each other. Give me one line to describe your brand. So Daily Tea or the era are human beyond tech, and then Cities Decoded. So one line, if somebody's asking you to describe it in one line, what would you say? T, kick it off.
This type of question is something that I'm most scared of because sometimes it's hard to explain in just one sentence.
It's hard. It is hard. Yes.
Ellie, would you like
And we're
to
gonna
go
do
first?
it.
I'll go first because I thought about this quite a lot. I think the way that I would describe what the mission of Human Beyond Tech is to go after the question of what it means to be human in the age of AI. And that includes
Yes.
our physical health, mental health, relationships, and everything that makes us human. And while building technology, being mindful of what we actually need. We're only humans after all.
Yes.
What to do.
Yes, agreed. I love that. I would say for Cities Decoded, it's seeing AI through the lens of just cool people in cities. I mean, that's why I have the two of you and a lot more people I've been able to meet through it, but that is why it exists. It's just to show everyone what you all are up to. So I would
Mm.
say that's for Cities Decoded. All right, T, back to you.
That was
Do it.
awesome. I love it. I love how both of you said it's awesome. Clearly, you've put a lot of thought into it. That was awesome. I think for T, the idea is to learn with me. So basically, we're all learning always, constantly. And I would love to share what I've learned with people who are also interested in learning. That's one. And the other is, I think, like Sam pointed out, people, especially if you talk down to people, nobody's okay with kind of that type of attitude. And I think nobody should have that attitude because, after all, we're building artificial intelligence. It's artificial after all. And everybody should have this humbleness, humility in front of God because we are created, and we're you know just in this revolutionizing journey. So I would say the second point would be walk humbly with God, which is something that I always cherish and remind myself of every single day, especially in the era of AI.
Yes,
Only
very.
humans after all.
Yes, firing off some prayers, some song. What a fantastic way to end this. All right. That has been monthly tea of April 2026. Thank you as always, T, for joining. Thank you, Alif, for joining for the first time here. We hope to see you back for many, many more. I also want to mention that my other podcast, Mindful Notions, is currently up for an award, and you can help us win. So the instructions are how to vote. It will take less than a minute. Will be in the description. You can vote up until May 4th. And then the award ceremony in London will be May 6th. So we will keep everyone updated regardless of the result. But the fact that the podcast is nominated is all because of not me, but everyone who listens and supports my podcasting efforts as a whole. So go do that if you haven't yet. And if you have a second, that is much appreciated. This has been Cities Decoded. We break down what happens when artificial intelligence meets the nation's cities. If you're listening or watching on Substack, please consider recommending us. It really helps us reach new audiences. And if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, consider liking, subscribing, and giving us a 5-star review. Also helps with our reach. And until the next monthly tea or the next daily tea, which will be tomorrow, we hope that everyone takes care, and we'll talk to all of you very, very soon. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.